Hey traders, it's John Fortune here with this week's weekly Forex forecast for the 7th of May to the 11th of May 2018. As always, we're going to start with the US dollar index and oil before running through a number of markets, looking at key levels of support and resistance in the process. I'm also going to be highlighting some of the targets that we're looking for in this coming week and also in the weeks ahead. So without further ado, let's jump over to the charts and see where the money is this week. Starting with the US dollar index. Now, last week we broke above the key area of support and the first target at the 92.07, and we also took out the second target to the upside that we had, which was over here at the 92.48. So very simply put, going into this week, and for those of you who have been following the Elliott wave course that we've been laying out on the channel for you, you can see that we are in a third wave here in the US dollar index. And so we are looking for further advances to the upside. If we get a pullback and a retest of broken resistance turning support at the 92.07, this would be a great place to again start to look for bullish formations and patterns and looking for a rally in the US dollar index up towards the first key area of resistance to the upside at the 93.25. And if we can get a breakthrough here, just like we did last week on the 92.07, then we're going to be looking up towards the second target to the upside in the next key area of resistance at the 94.22. Next, we have oil. Now, last week, we actually took out the target to the upside at the 69.51, which was around in this area roughly. And you can see we're sitting now above this key area of broken resistance at 69.22. So very simply put, if we get a pullback and a retest of broken resistance turning support, this is going to be a great place to start to look for bullish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking at initiating longs up towards the next key area of resistance to the upside and target 1 at the 71.18. And if we can get a breakthrough here and we can start to accumulate up in this area, this would be a great place to start again, maybe looking to add to positions, or if it just goes straight through, looking to continue this up towards the next key area of resistance to the upside and target 2 at the 73.32. Next, we have euro dollar. Now, last week, euro dollar moved really nicely for us. It actually came down, took out both targets to the downside that we were looking for. And we had a really nice trade here in the live rooms in euro dollar. And going into this week, we start the week still below the key area of broken support at the 1.20626. And so what we're looking for, you can see we're coming up close now to the next key area of support to the downside. So ideally, we would like to see a pullback, especially if we're going to get a bit of a pullback and a retest of the broken resistance turning support in the US dollar index. We'd be looking for a pullback somewhere in this area, potentially even a pullback to retest broken support turning resistance, but a pullback anywhere in this area. And again, you can use the US dollar index as a guide towards these pullbacks in the dollar pairs. But if we get a pullback in this area, preferably to retest broken support turning resistance, this would be a great place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking first of all down to the next key area of support to the downside at the 1.18784. And if we can get a breakthrough here, then we're going to be looking down towards target 2 and the next key area of support to the downside at the 1.17227. Next, we have pound dollar. Now, last week we just continued this move to the downside in the pound dollar, and we actually took out all 3 targets from the weekly forecast last week. And we go into this week very, very close down to the next key area of support to the downside. So maybe for those of you who trade on smaller time frames, there's a little bit of a trade in here, but ideally what we'd like to see, especially if we're going to get a bit of a pullback in the dollar index, is a correction to take place. Preferably if we can come back and retest broken support turning resistance, that would be great, as this would provide a great place to start to look again for bearish formations and patterns. First of all, down to this first key area of support, which we're yet to come to at the 1.3459. And of course, if we can get a breakthrough here, okay, and maybe we just end up doing this, but if we get something like this and we get a breakthrough here, this would be, if we're not already involved, a great place again to start to look for bearish formations and patterns for a move down towards the next key area of support to the downside and target 2, the 1.3272. Next, we have the US dollar Japanese yen. Now, last week in the US dollar Japanese yen, we just went up, okay, and then down like this. We didn't really go anywhere. And you can see we still are yet to come towards the next key area of resistance to the upside. We have pulled down into a key area of support over here. And you can see this is at the 108.773. So very simply put, going into next week, this is a great place, again, to start to look for bullish formations and patterns up towards the target from last week and the next key area resistance to the upside at the 110.356. And if we can get a break through here, of course, we'll be looking up towards target 2 and the next key area resistance to the upside at the 111.427. Now, if the Japanese yen is fairly strong next week and the US dollar is as well, we may see, just bear in mind, a little bit more of a continued correction because we have two strong currencies against each other. And this is something we go through in the live rooms. So just bear that in mind. But as we start the week above this key area of support, we are looking for the next key area of resistance to the upside, and our bias is to the upside. Next, we have the Aussie dollar. Now, last week in the Aussie dollar, we broke down and we actually took out the first target and the key area of support to the downside that we were looking for, and we started to push to the upside. So very simply put, going into this week, we start the week below the key area, broken support, turned resistance over here a couple of times. And if we're going to get a little bit of a pullback first in US dollar index, it would be great if we got a pullback up to here and a retest of broken support turning resistance, as this would be a great place to start once again to look for bearish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking down first of all to the first key area of support to the downside and target 1 at the 0.74385. And if we can get a break through here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key area of support to the downside and target 2 at the 0.73779. Next, we have New Zealand dollar. Now, last week we started the week up in this area over here, and we're looking for a move down towards, this was the target set from last week at the 0.69770. And you can see we're pushing to the downside. We came very, very close to this first target down here, but we didn't quite accomplish it. So going into this week, you can see we actually have as well, I mean, in this case, you can see a touch here, and some price action over here. And when you go back into the past, you can see that this is actually a very significant level. So we've added this in for you this week. And as we start the week below this very significant support and resistance level, we are looking still for further declines to the downside. If we get a little bit of a pullback and a retest once again starting next week of broken support turning resistance, this is going to be a great place to again start to look for bearish formations and patterns down towards the next key area of support to the downside and the target set from last week at the 0.69770. And if we can get a break through there, we're going to be looking down towards the next key area of support to the downside and target 2 at the 0.69164. Now, we do have another target to the downside, but it's unlikely, in my opinion, to come all the way down here next week. So really, the main two targets we're looking for are these two areas of support to the downside next week. Next, we have US dollar for Swiss franc. Now, last week we came up and we took out the first target to the upside, and we came very close to taking out the second target to the upside in this key area of resistance over here. So very simply put, going into this week, we are still looking for this to complete and take out the target of the 1.00380 from last week. What would be nice, however, if we could get a pullback, and we get a bit of a pullback in the US dollar index, we'll be looking for a little bit of a pullback into this area, preferably if we can get a pullback and a retest of broken resistance turning support. That would be preferable because we'd have a much bigger risk to reward ratio up here. And if we can get this kind of price action, this is going to be a great place to start to look for bullish formations and patterns. First of all, up to the target set from last week at the 1.00380. And if we can get a break through here, and again, similar to the pound dollar, maybe we just end up coming straight through like this. This will be a great place to look to potentially add to a position or enter a new position if it just breaks straight through, up towards the next key area of resistance to the upside and target 2 at the 1.00988. Next, we have US dollar CAD. Now, last week, the US dollar CAD struggled. You can see it's in this kind of correction here, but we still did come up and take out the target almost to the pip, which was just here set from last week before selling off. So if we are going to get a little bit of a pullback in the US dollar index, what would be great is if we could get a move down to this area, preferably even a retest of broken resistance over here turning support. That would be fantastic. And if we get this kind of price action, this is going to be a great place to start to look for bullish formations and patterns up towards target 1 and the next key area of resistance to the upside at the 1.29419. And if we can get a break through here, we'll be looking up towards target 2 and the next key area of resistance to the upside at the 1.31119. And finally, we have gold. Now, last week we came down and took out the target here in gold at the 1307.25, which was about here somewhere. And we started to move to the upside, and we go into this week starting below broken support, turning resistance. Okay, and this is now a great place as we start the week to look for bearish formations and patterns. And as long as we stay below this broken support, turning resistance, we're going to have a bearish bias, looking for shorts down towards the first target in the next key area of support to the downside at the 1299.22. And if we can get a break through here, there is quite a big space all the way down to the next support and target 2 at the 1271.24. So that is it from me for this week, guys. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please let me know by liking, sharing and subscribing. A big thank you to those of you who do that on a regular basis and those of you who are already subscribed to the channel so far. Feel free to check out the free online educational courses that we're putting onto the channel. And don't forget, you can also click in the link in the description below to find out how you can get free live training in the live rooms. So with that, guys, I hope you all enjoy the rest of your weekend. I hope you all have a fantastic week next week. Take care and don't forget to trade safely.